love H.P Lovecraft's kind of stories. The one where cosmic deities are driving people insane and just waiting to destroy everything we hold dear. Unless it has a third installment. And the H.P Lovecraft's Historical Society does so more than most, for obvious reasons, and had thusly produced a movie based on his most famous story, Call of Cthulhu. The movie is an adaptation of the story by H.P Lovecraft that deals with the mystery behind the creature with investigations. The movie, on the other hand, has a rather focused perspective, that being of Matt Foyer, who retells his investigation into his grandfather's studies of the cult of Cthulhu, starting with the dreams of an artist. The story spawned one of the most influential creatures in all of fiction, so let's see if this movie can do it justice. We start with Matt talking to the inspector, telling him to burn the whole collection of papers sitting on his desk. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, didn't I? This is a silent movie, shot so as to emulate the way it would have been done in 1926. Guess how much fun I'm going to have with the subtitles. Matt then begins to tell him about the investigation. His grandfather, upon his deathbed, gave him a special key which he used to open a chest after he passed away, leading him to discover the research he left behind. What a loving grandfather, leaving his grandchild with the key to research notes about things that drive people insane. We see his past self studying the case and are subsequently shown his grandfather's investigation into the whole ordeal. We see his grandfather's first encounter with the mystery in the form of an artist who has had a series of intense nightmares, leading him to sculpt an interesting tablet. He describes his nightmares and the things he saw, which look like a series of geometry figures a math teacher would use to torture his students with. Matt's grandfather asks him if he could write down all of his dreams for him, and the artist agrees to write down everything he sees in his dreams, complete with sketches. A year later, his grandfather published a book about an artist being driven insane by nightmarish visions, claiming it was entirely his own idea. Naturally, this goes a bit too well, and the artist ends up in a hospital where he goes through nightmares at a constant rate. However, he cannot recall anything once he awakens. Having no further use of the artist, Matt tells us his grandfather met some archaeologists in 1908 just as an inspector turned up with a statue he'd acquired, wondering what it was, and no one knew what it was except for the old guy with one eye, who claimed that a band of evil devil worshippers showed him something similar. We get a flashback showing him being led to the artifact by a member of the cult. When he tries to steal the statuette, he's stabbed in the eye for his trouble. Not entirely sure how they are the bad guys when you were shown a sacred idol, after taking one of them hostage, stealing from them, and then they finally retaliated. Somehow them not being part of your religion fails to be an excuse. The inspector then tells them how he found the idol he brought. He was called to a remote area of the swamp because children had gone missing, and as they draw nearer to where they think the culprits have gone, they hear howls in agonized lust, before finding a group of people who are jumping up and down in a circle surrounding the idol. They look around and see some so realistic looking cadavers hanging upside down, and then they charge a group of 50 people because obviously you're going to be able to take them on with, what, your 4 guys? In spite of the odds, they do bring them in. Not sure what they've done though, the agonized howls was probably just a weird BDSM going on prior to the ritual. And I'm not sure a sacrificing plastic puppets bought from your local Halloween store is a crime. Hell, upon finding them, the police just rushes in without any sign of aggression from the worshippers and attacks them without giving them the option to surrender. They even threaten them with guns, and afterwards he says they killed 5 of them. Clear case of police brutality. They take one of them into questioning and he tells them about their faith, which can be summarized like this. And he tells them they didn't kill anyone, just gave them to some unspecified creatures, which I'm inclined to agree with. Not the part about the creatures, mind you, but the part about not killing anyone. Plastic dolls aren't living beings, Inspector. Evidently he took the idol in spite of it obviously being evidence material to bring to this meeting. The story ends and we see that Matt got nightmares afterwards, where he is surrounded by giant books. So the page master turned evil. He continues to explain that the rest of his grandfather's research was a dead end and goes back to his own research. However, one of his research samples was wrapped in a piece of paper which just happened to have the final puzzle piece. This isn't a tale of the horrifying nature of Cthulhu. This is Tzinch, bored out of his goddamn mind. It shows a picture of yet another idol and about a crew on board a sailing vessel
that finds a maroon ship in the middle of nowhere and decides to commandeer it. They snoop around and find that the captain went insane and that they went to an island that does not show up on the map. Curious, they set out to find the island and discover what happened to the crew. He, in his curiosity, travels the world and finds the idol, though he isn't allowed to take it, and then goes to Norway to find the last surviving crew member, Johansen, but finds that he died leaving his wife a widow. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, he kept a journal retelling the events. Matt considers destroying it, but can't, so he reads it instead. They went ashore and found a cave, and at the end of the cave they found a central structure, and I'm not going to lie, I think it looks really good. They approach it and start to inspect the side, causing it to open, and out comes Cthulhu and starts hunting them down. They all die with the exception of Johansen and another crew member. They get to the boat, however Cthulhu follows them. Realizing they're not getting away, Johansen rams Cthulhu straight through the chest and sails off. However, his friend dies from insanity, and for some reason he lost his hair color. Matt finishes his story with the revelation that something horrible is going to happen, and we find out that he's in a mental institution. Finally, he ends the movie with the words, "Burn it all." In spite of all the silliness, is it still a good watch? Well, yeah. In spite of the limited budget and running time, the piece does indeed manage to give us a glimpse of that Lovecraftian spirit. The choice of making it a silent movie is an interesting one, and it does have some good qualities. Amongst other, it allows the physical performance to carry the movie instead of the spoken one. The story itself does feel a bit, well, normal considering what it tries to portray, but that is partially as a result of the runtime, as things are a bit rushed, though not so much that it becomes problematic. In the end, I found this to be an enjoyable 47 minutes, and I would recommend it to anyone who's even mildly interested. And perhaps in the future I would review the other filmmaker's adaptation of an H.P Lovecraft story. Till then,